Right, guys, I'm just going to say there is a lot of people in here, a lot more than I anticipated, and I am a bag of frigging nerves. So, you know, if I collapse on the stage, panic. It wasn't supposed to happen. So as I said, yeah, I'm here to talk to you about lead generation. Lovely title here. But because I'm a bag of nerves and because I am a northerner, so we are a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes, there's two words that I'm bringing to you today that is hopefully going to strike some fear into your heart. Game time. So I swear to God, the only thing that I'm going to be asking you to do is stand up and then sit down. Well, she knows the crack. Oh God. All I'm going to be asking you to do is just stand up and then sit down. So it goes like this. If you can all stand up, 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 let's get up, let's get up. Get those neurons firing. That's what we like. We're nearly at the end of the day. So all I'm going to do is literally just pull away some of these Post-it notes, and all I want you to do is sit down the moment that you know what the image is. Pretty straightforward. No one's going to be targeted, I promise. So I'm just going to pull them away like this, and all I want you to do, as soon as you know what it is, just sit down. Super easy in concept. So if you know what it is, please sit down. No, there's a lot of people still standing up. This may or may not work, but if you do know what it is, sit down. So if you don't know what it is, there's a good chance that you might not know that this moment in history ever happened. So we will give you that grace. Yeah, okay, fabulous. You can all sit down. It was, in fact, the Will Smith, Chris Rock slap. An iconic moment in history for me. I love them both. It was like seeing mum and dad fighting. So not ideal. But why did we play that game? I hear you ask. It was, in fact, to show you that without enough data, it is impossible for us to see the bigger picture. If we can't see the big picture, how on earth can we possibly expect to tell the story of performance? Lovely segue. I'm Charlie. I am the founder of the PPC Academy up in Manchester, and I'm here to talk to you today about the importance of using data to tell powerful stories of performance. So what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? So I'm going to tell you exactly what I think storytelling is, subjective. I'm going to tell you why I think it's super important for successful lead generation campaigns. We're going to look at a couple of reasons why I think we're not doing it. And of course, I would not bring you problems and not solutions, because that's just a dick move. We're also going to look at, if we have these solutions, what is the result of implementing them? And of course, the favourite part, the summary, the end, drawing ever closer to the end of the day and that cold pint. So a Stanford business graduate found that stories are 22 times more memorable than facts alone. You're like, hey, Charlie, we're here to learn about lead generation, not English lit. And I hear you, but just keep this in mind for the rest of the deck. What is storytelling, guys? A little picture there. What is storytelling? Storytelling to me is a transformation. It is a transformation from point A to point B. So it could be, you know, spending a shit ton of money on your ads and getting that 6-figure sale. It could be Cinderella to the wonderful Disney princess we all know and love. It could also be how a weird, slightly quirky Lancastrian ended up being stood on this stage today, but we won't go too far into that one. So why is storytelling so important to lead generation? We're numbers people, aren't we? We love it. Oh, we love storytelling. We love lead generation in this deck, but we are numbers people through and through. I think so much so that I've got a mug at home, actually, that says I heart spreadsheets on it, and it was from a Secret Santa years gone by. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one in this room to be guilty of that. What's the relevance? The relevance is numbers alone don't have meaning, unfortunately. If we are not able to piece together data in a coherent way, we can't make that journey from A to B. So we're going to start with a little story. Story about Client X. Client X is a tech services client that approached me a couple of years ago, and they were pissed off. They were pissed off. The reason they were so annoyed was because the agency they were working with No naming names, we don't do that. The agency they were working with were like, hey, you know, we've scaled your spend, we're doing experiments, we're doing all the good stuff that we agreed, we're hitting the KPIs, hitting the cost per lead that you said. Mr. Client, we're doing a brill job. The client, on the other hand, is frustrated. And they're frustrated because they're not seeing the sales scale in the same way as spend is. They're consistently seeing poor quality leads. And ultimately, they're losing faith that PPC could be the right channel for them. So let's unpick it a little bit. So over here, you've got your front end data, you've got your ads, your platform, your spend, your creative, all the stuff that we are very comfortable, we live, we love it, all the good stuff that we enjoy. And then over here is the stuff that we've got that's missing. So the client data, the business objectives, the context, okay? So business data is essentially a client story. Numbers without business data do not have meaning. Without business data, we lose context. And without context, we lose money. So what happens when we don't tell stories? There's two things that I believe happen. Performance. How on earth could we possibly expect to assess performance if we are only looking at the front-end vanity metrics? So it's super important for us, especially within lead gen, to plug in the offline sales conversion value or even the feedback on the lead quality itself. Do your job. Very important part. Very important part. Unfortunately, this may be an unpopular opinion, but if you are hired to deliver a lead generation campaign, you're delivering leads, but not sales, and you do not understand why, unfortunately, you are not doing your job effectively. If you disagree with me, fight with me later. So what's stopping us from telling more stories? There's three things that I think are stopping us. Soft skills. Soft skills is something that most people are never, ever trained in, if at all, until maybe they hit management. And even then, you know, it's a little bit questionable. More times than ever, really, now I'm seeing that people are having conversations with clients and they're like, hey, we haven't got that information. We haven't got it. And I'm like, how long have you been working with this client? 8 months. Okay, 8 months. Go back and ask them these questions, get that information. Oh, can't, it's embarrassing. I look like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, arguably you don't, but, you know, go back and have that conversation. And unless you have those soft skills, it is so, so hard to go back and say, hey, Mr. Client, you know, when we had that scoping call, I was supposed to ask you this, this, and this, but I didn't. It happens, and some people can feel like they're in too deep with their client to take everything back to the beginning and ultimately tease that information out. Access. I think this is more applicable certainly within agencies, but where you have like silo teams and, you know, you might have your implementers, you have your client services team, you have your sales team and yada, yada, yada. Ultimately, some people may not have access to the people with the information. So they are wholly reliant on their managers, the client services directors or whoever's doing the sale, or even their predecessors. They're reliant on those people pulling those bits of information. And client issues. Oh, who doesn't love a client issue? Client issues, silo teams, especially within lead generation, there's very rarely just one team that are the touch point. There's usually multiple touch points for lead generation on the client side. A lot of issues happen when the individual teams don't understand their impact on the workflow. Makes the issues around communication so more like difficult to deal with. So you've got three problems there. How do we tell more stories? How do we overcome some of those challenges? Easy, absolutely easy. So straightforward. They all fall under one umbrella in my eyes, and that is ultimately know your client inside out. It sounds super simple, and it is, but you have to do the work. You have to do the work. 3 things. If you can nail these 3 things, you will be a badass at storytelling in performance, and that's products, teams, and processes. Do you understand what the top sales drivers are? Do you understand what the top profit drivers are? Oftentimes, especially in lead generation campaigns, you'll have, you know, take the tech services client. They might sell 10 Microsoft support packages in a month. Great, we're doing our jobs. But if they get a managed IT support service for, you know, an entire company, that hits their sales targets for the entire year, God damn it. So, you know, do we understand the difference between the sales drivers and the profit drivers? Do we understand the lead cycles and the sales cycles for those things? And also the business objectives. So this one makes me laugh every single time because I swear to God, people do it